I think I've selected a team that would be able to outperform the Cinch Premiership 2022-23 team of the season. On screen now is the team selected by the SPFL. Of course it features Duke, but starting from the back, Calum, who obviously signed from Aberdeen in the summer from Derby County. Greg Taylor performed very well at Celtic, likewise Cameron Carter-Vickers, obviously both treble winners in a treble winning defence. James Tavernier of Rangers with Callum McGregor, probably captain, Rio HATATE and Malik Tillman, who of course spent the season on loan at Rangers from Bayern Munich. They then selected 4 forwards, being Lawrence Shankland, the penalty merchant, but of course he scored a lot of goals, and that can't be denied. Duke, who was probably the maverick of the season and my personal highlight as an Aberdeen fan, Kyogo Furuhashi and Kevin Van Veen, who of course has since moved to Groningen in the Dutch 2nd Division from Motherwell, despite the fact that no one in the league could afford him, apparently, according to Stuart Kettlewell. Interesting. Now, you may have noticed that that team was lacking a second centre-back, so I drafted in the help of my brother. So once I'd picked my best 11 from the rest that were available, we then took it in turns, picking up players to make up a squad for the season. And, well, this is what he came out with, essentially. So, he picked Matty Pollock, Craig Halkett and Stephen Welsh as his centre-backs, because I'd essentially picked the other 2 best available in Connor Goldson and Carl Starfelt. He then filled out the rest of the squad. Ryan Strain is here, Ridvan Yilmaz probably as a starting left-back, Yilba Ramadani, Glenn Kamara's here, along with Martin Boyle, JOTA, because I made a boo-boo and just assumed he was in the team of the season. Didn't pick him in neither my best 11, nor my first 2 picks for this rest of the squad, so missed out on him. Excellent news. Sead Haksabanovic is here, and so is Kevin Nisbet, though I'm not sure they need an extra striker. I noticed that there is some injuries. I removed them before the start of the simulation, and I also placed a transfer embargo on both clubs, so there was no transfers done throughout the season of simulation. This here was then the team I selected from the off as my best 11, sort of half based on performance throughout the season, some bias, some Aberdeen bias, and also what I thought would work on Football Manager. And this was the tactic I selected. I'll go in a bit more depth a little later on, but I picked Joe Hart as my starting goalkeeper, Barisic, Goldson, Starfelt and Ross McCrory as my back 4. O'Reilly, Clarkson and Lundstrom were my starting centre midfielders, with Lila Bada, and I wasn't sure if I was going to play a winger or a slightly offset formation with giving Barisic more licence to bomb forward, but I selected Ryan Kent in place of Diogo Jota, which was very silly, and Bojan Miovski definitely off his performance in the last season. But I then filled out the rest of my squad with this ragtag lot that you're now looking at. Craig Gordon, who probably ends up being my starting goalkeeper if I'm honest. Kai Rowles as another backup centre-back along with Ben Davis. Alistair Johnson, who likewise probably ends up starting, and Stephen Kingsley with the idea he could play at left-back or centre-back. I then have Aaron Moy, who probably comes in to start, who's recently retired in real life, which is pretty odd. Graham Shinney as another centre midfielder, as well as Todd Cantwell, Yanis Hadji, who could play sort of as the playmaker out wide or in behind. We've then got Daisen Maeda, again as a striker or out wide. James Forrest, because, well, I was struggling towards the end, can play on the right for me. And I think that's about it covered. Alfredo Morelos, who, let's be honest, probably starts based on Football Manager, not real life. Let's make that abundantly clear. Thank you. In order to get the best representation of how these teams would actually do in the league, I replaced the worst 2 teams in the league that were not in European competition, meaning I couldn't unfortunately replace Dundee United. So according to Football Manager, that was Ross County, who I took for myself as best of the rest, brackets subscribe, and Livingston, who were the team of the season, the official team of the season, brackets like. Makes sense? I also then adequately compensated every team that lost any players through the selections by myself or either my brother in the team of the season or best of the rest. And it had it turn out like this. According to the squads that we picked, my team, the best of the rest, odds-on favourite to win the league. However, team of the season coming in at second at 10-3, with still Rangers and Celtic up there towards the top. Aberdeen, after losing Clarkson, Shinnie, Miovski, Horter and Kelleros. Any more? Possibly. Down to 11th. But as I said, compensated. This was before any transfers because I allowed them to do so in order to get better again and make it a bit more competitive. But despite the squad perhaps being tipped in my favour, in terms of the Media Dream 11, it's heavily tipped in the current team of the season's favour, which is fair enough, even with players who didn't make it, such as Ridvan Yilmaz, Glenn Kamara and JOTA. I only have Craig Gordon, Connor Goldson and Dyson Maeda in the starting 11. The rest is made up by the other side. So it's interesting, and you may have been wondering how it was going to be decided who had the best team out of the two. So I thought obviously a team could win the league, but the other team could finish second and win both cups, and it would be a bit of a toss-up on who had the better season. So the point system is as follows. You get 50 points for winning the league, then 30 points for finishing above the other team if neither win the league, 25 points per domestic cup competition, that being the Scottish Cup and the Viaplay Cup. You get 15 points per win over the other side because, well, bragging rights. I made them rivals in the game. And there's also 10 points per individual award, such as Player of the Season. And with all the admin covered and the realisation that I am simulating in a season with a World Cup break halfway through it, let's simulate to the halfway point in that World Cup break and see how things are getting on, who is coming out on top. Oh dear. Well, based on league season, anyway, alone, not the cup competitions, after 16 games played, right before the start of the football again after the World Cup break, team of the season, brackets like, 7 points ahead of my best of the rest, brackets subscribe, and only 6 points ahead of Celtic. So Celtic clearly replaced the players they lost very well. Rangers perhaps not so much, as they are level on points with my Diddy lot, and Aberdeen are doing alright, so that's also good. Interesting. I'm going to have a little look at the results and see how we fared against the teams in and around us, and hopefully we'll get a gauge of where we'll end up at the end of the season. We did storm through the Viaplay Cup group relatively easily, despite only beating Bucky 4-2. We started off the league season very well, beating Hearts, beating Celtic 4-0, lost to Rangers. However, we've also lost to team of the season, so that's automatically 15 points to them. Still in the cup, going into the semi-final, into that international break, and a bit of a dodgy back end of the start of the season, if you like. We drew with Hibs and then lost to Celtic. And despite Kyogo going to the team of the season, has stepped up to the mark. 2 goals in that one. So it's not looking good whatsoever. And I've also spotted that the morale is terrible. So maybe managing all of these personalities, egos, not so easy, because everybody hates simulation me. And I should mention that I put manager of the season Postecoglou to Celtic, so it's no wonder they're doing well. I shouldn't have been so cocky. I definitely should not have been so cocky. After 16 games we were on 31 points. We played a further 22 games and only gained the same amount of points, 62. We finished 4th behind Celtic and Rangers, who are ransacked for their players, with the team of the season and Ange Postecoglou as their manager winning the league, gaining them 50 points. So to have any chance of winning this, my team has to have really won the Scottish Cup and the League Cup. We were in the semi-final before the international break, the World Cup break. I'm not confident about this whatsoever. Aberdeen sneaks into the top 6 though, so that's some condolences. Well, we made it to the final to face Rangers after beating Partick 4-0. However, bad news. We didn't get 25 points for winning the Scottish Cup. Rangers, not even in the competition, gained 25 points there. Viaplay Cup, please. Even worse, knocked out at the semi-final stage by Celtic. And the team of the season, brackets like, did get to the final. However, thankfully, they didn't win it. So they don't go miles in front. Well, they already are miles in front. With 50 points they don't go on to 75. So there's still a chance, providing we clean up on all the awards, to draw with them. and maybe we beat them loads in the league in the second half of the season. But before we find out, I'm going to build a little bit of suspension and look at who our top performers were. Ryan Kent was very good, contributing to a total of 29 goals. And Yanis Hadji also fantastic too. Connor Goldson performing well at the back. And Alfredo Morelos was hopefully at least won us the top goal scorer award, because he scored 41. I can't see anyone having more than that. So that's excellent news. And congratulations, Alfredo. He played 49 games this season, so that's how you know Football Manager's unrealistic. Just a bit of fun, guys. Now, of course, we lost the first game against the team in the season brackets like. We knew that. Let's hope we've cleaned up afterwards and picked up 45 points. That would take us just 5 points behind them. Nope. Nope. Oh, goodness me. We lost again to them in January. 1-0. Calum McGregor scoring. Okay. Perhaps we picked up another couple. No, we lost to them. A hat-trick 3 times. 2-1. Kyogo Furuhashi and James Tavernier scoring a penalty because, of course, good to see his streak carries on even though he's not playing his football at Ibrox. And, well, we drew, so we gained nothing other than stopping the rot. Goodness me, we had a terrible split. Oh, it's no wonder we lost the cup final. Lord. So I make that they've got 95 points before we even looked at the awards. And they've probably got some players of the seasons in there. We finally have our first points on the board. Alfredo Morelos did indeed finish off as top goal scorer, earning us 10 points. Well, we've got a big margin to make up, but that lowers it down to only 85 points gap. I don't even think it's possible to win. I think it's just damage limitation at this point. Celtic's replacement for Kyogo, Dejan something or other, did very well, scoring 25 goals, only finishing 2 behind Morelos, and then Kyogo was a further 2 goals behind him, finishing in 3rd place, scoring 23 goals for himself. Kyogo then went on to win the Player of the Year award, unfortunately for us, a 7.35 average rating. Malik Tillman then came in 2nd, and his position's apparently striker, which is bizarre. I'm going to have a look and see what Ange was doing, because unusual. And Ryan Kent came 3rd. So, another 10 points to them. And as well as finishing 2nd in the Player of the Year award, Malik Tillman then won Young Player of the Year award. Another 10 to them, 11 goals, 13 assists, 7.32 average rating in 34 games. So, excellent. This video has gone really, really well for me. Nobody won goal of the season. Alfredo Morelos came closest in 3rd, but James Balagziji, somebody for Aberdeen won it. So at least congratulations to them. Manager of the season went to Ange Postecoglou. He beat Brendan Rodgers and Lee Johnson. That's probably the weirdest thing about this video. 10 more points for them. I now realise that the first 2 were only the Football Writers Awards, so the official Player of the Season was, well, it was all the same. 10 more points. Kyogo Furuhashi, congratulations. Players player, Kyogo, well done. I'm really taking this well. This isn't even included in the points because it's not an individual award, but they had more players in the team of the season. No surprise, Kyogo Furuhashi, JOTA, who I should have picked, and maybe everything would have been different. Malik Tillman, Rio Hatate, Cameron Carter-Vickers, James Tavernier, and Jay Horter as well. Not even the goalkeeper that was in the team this season. In fact, he only played for Aberdeen about 3 times. We had Goldson and Morelos, so that's good. Chris Cadden somehow sneaked in Burnaby. Oh, and also not included was the Young Player of the Month awards, but I just realised that Calvin Ramsey ended up at Rangers. This video is just getting worse and worse and worse. And the non-Football Writers Young Player of the Year award, no surprise, Malik Tillman. I'll have to count this all up. I've lost count of how many we've been beaten by. I think we have 10 points. So providing my calculations were correct, and I'm sure you'll let me know if they're not in the comments down below, we collected 10 points. I'm fairly sure on that. They collected 155 points based on the aforementioned points system. So this has really exploded, burst into my face in horrendous fashion. But I'm sure you'll have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are new here, because we've got bangers and me making a fool of myself every Thursday from now on, 7 PM. So make sure you don't miss it. can abuse me if you want for my lack of ball knowledge, as the kids call it, in the comments down below as well. And I'll see you next week. This was awful.